So things have been changing a lot politically in Canada. If you look at some of the polling numbers, things have been going radically in one direction. And it's very surprising in, well, my own home province of British Columbia. Rob Haynes, I want to thank you for joining me today. You are a candidate for the Conservatives to run in the next election in Burnaby, North Burnaby. And I wanted to bring you on and get your opinion on this whole move towards the Conservatives, especially in British Columbia, in this last little bit. Why are people so excited about what you guys are talking about?
I think people are excited about what the conservative message is right now is because the conservatives across this country, whether it's here in BC, provincially, and also the federal conservatives, is that we're getting back to common sense and the foundation of what it really means to be a Canadian. And what that is a strong economy and putting money in people's pockets. And people are so poor and so hard up right now. That's what they want. They need money back in their pockets. They want to spend their dollars the way they see fit.
So what does common sense mean? Like I keep hearing this. Pierre Poilievre keeps saying, he gives it his own definition. We're hearing John Rustad, who's a provincial candidate for the Conservatives. I don't know if you're not affiliated, it's just Conservative Party. But everybody's got this thing, common sense. It goes all the way back to Thomas Paine, one of my favorite books by him, Common Sense. What is the main driver of this? Is this one congruent message across the board, or does everybody have their own sort of thought on this?
Okay, so to break the one bit first, the BC Conservatives are not affiliated with the federal Conservatives. That would be true with the BC NDP and the federal NDP. They are one organization, but where the Conservatives are concerned, it's two separate organizations. It just, you happen to see a lot of overlap right now between the two parties. But common sense, to get back to the common sense question, to me, um, when we talk about common sense, that's about going back to the traditional things that made Canada strong, made Canada successful. And that is, um, I've always been a fiscal conservative, so I always start there, right? Um, if the economy is going well and people have jobs and people are respected in their jobs and we are responsible in the way that we drive the economy, people will be happy because they'll have money in their pockets. And so that's the basic thing that I go back to. The other piece about this common sense, though, right now is when we take a look at a lot of these social policies and the various kinds of ideology that have been coming out, the common sense is to be like, okay, we need to stop some of this. We're going too far. Like, it's Canadians have great compassion, and you are taking it too far on Canadians. Like, one of the best things about being Canadian, and maybe it's a stereotype that they say around the world about, oh, we all say sorry and that we're super friendly, but we're friendly because we have compassion. We're friendly because we truly care about people. That doesn't mean what we're seeing now. What we're seeing now is trampling on everybody else's rights because you're sad over something, and that what we've done there is the divisions we've created in society are just making people everyone's a victim, and when you're a victim you have no responsibility for what your own portion of that action is. And the various things that we've seen that are looking like Online Harms Act, all these things are coming down. That's where common sense has to go and say, whoa, we're going too far here. And there's the ideological part, and again, for me, the economic part of what is common sense. Back to our values and principles.
So the Conservative Party, not of British Columbia, but the Conservative Party federally in British Columbia, you're running for the North Burnaby seat. And what is the federal Conservatives going to do for British Columbia? We, we know that the West feels very isolated from the rest of Canada. Alberta, British Columbia, even Manitoba and Saskatchewan really feel like we're at a disadvantage compared to the larger provinces, Ontario, Quebec, and then even the Maritimes. They feel that there's way too much political influence out there. What can you bring to the table for conservatives in British Columbia?
Well, I think one of the main things that is British Columbia's advantage, of course, is that it's on the West Coast. And so from the West Coast, we have access to all the shipping, all the ports, everything else where we can get our products to the rest of the world. And the Liberal government over the last, almost 9 years has really impacted the industries that put British Columbians to work. Okay, and so one part of that is industry. One part of that is forestry. The other part of that is what's going on in the fisheries as well. Now, do we need to be responsible environmentally? Sure, we need to be. But what will happen under a Poilievre government will be opening up those natural resources again. And so those will bring good, high paying jobs to people throughout the country and again to British Columbia. Right? We can't rely on film and television. We can't rely on tourism. We need more, right? And we can't just rely on tech jobs. If the economy is bad, tech jobs go down.
Hmm.
So we need to improve the economy. Once we improve the economy and people have jobs and they have money, tech jobs go up. Why? Because people have money to do stuff. So again, we need to get those natural resources, get them out of the ground, whatever the way that they're being done. BC has invested heavily in LNG. That's another product that we need to start getting out to the world, and we can meet all our responsibilities by doing that. So the biggest thing we can go and say like, oh, we're going to axe the tax. Well, the carbon tax is provincial here, but it's clear that Canadians across the country, including British Columbians, want that tax gone.
Hmm.
And I think a federal conservative government can put influence on the provincial government to say it's time to let that one go.
Well, I think a lot of people are very concerned about fiscal policy at this point. I mean, 9 years of
Yeah.
Trudeau's government with their massive spending, doubling our national debt. All of the national debt that we've had for the entirety of Canada being around. He doubled it. He doubled it in 9 years, and here we are. We have massive inflation. We were being burdened by more and more taxes. This is just it's lunacy. So I know a lot of people are moving over to the Conservatives with a hope that the Conservatives are going to do something better than what the Liberals are doing. Now there are voters that aren't necessarily conservative, maybe voters that are more left leaning, that are worried about some of these social programs, things like that being cut. What are the Conservatives? What's the opinion there? People don't want Granny to get less of a check next week or next
Yeah.
month, that kind of thing. Where are the main cuts going to be?
Um, so the way I see it is that um, you know the deficit spending is the first thing that has to go. And when Polyev talks about if you want any new dollar of spending has to come with a dollar savings somewhere, that's not a new trick in the book. That's been done many times by many governments over the year. Bill Clinton did it in the U.S. when he was having a deficit and debt crunch in the U.S. and they were able to pull themselves out of it. They were able to get their AAA rating back fairly quickly from it. That would be the first way of doing the first thing to do that. When we talk about making cuts, we're not just saying we're going to cut services, we're going to cut the excess, right? Like the fact that we're paying just a ludicrous amount of money for consultants we're paying consultants to redact documents for the bureaucrats. Well, why do we need the bureaucrats if we have a consultant doing that? Why do we need a consultant if we have bureaucrats that can do that? So when you go and expand the public service by, like 50%, and you're funding you're funding programs or old institutions that aren't really giving you bang for your buck, and some of that, for example, might be the CBC. That's the first thing to do. We need to look for efficiency. I think the only consultant, I said this to a bunch of BC cons the other day. I was like, you know what? The only consultant I want to see is the efficiency consultant who will come in here with the sword of Damocles and cut, 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 cut. It just be like Javier Milei, a fuego, a fuego, just cut those things that are like just not efficient, right? Like we don't have to. The other thing too that I believe is that you don't need all this money for social services if people have money in their pocket,
Hmm.
right? If they keep the money in their pocket, they don't. 2 million people go to a food bank. Why? Because they don't have money in their pockets, right? Leave people with money in their pockets and they can take care of their families. They don't need the government to take care of their family. There's no dignity in that. They don't want that. And I think this is part of why so many people are turning away from the liberal NDP socialism that they're seeing.
Well, I love the message that you're giving forward, and I've been encouraging people to go meet with people in your local areas. We met before. I went to one of
Yeah.
your local pub nights, and I'm happy to have you on the show and introduce you to everybody out here. So Rob Haynes for MP in Burnaby North, check out your local ridings as well. Check out everywhere because guys like
Yeah.
Rob are available, and this is what this is all about. Do you have any other message you'd like to send off before? Because I'm gonna have you back because I want to talk about some of your ecological projects. I call it ecological because I think we should emphasize on the logical. But we'll
Yeah.
talk about that next time I have you. Any message, especially with this Ask the Tax right on the screen, that you'd like to put out there?
Yeah, well, so I'm running in the riding of Burnaby North Seymour. I'm a conservative nomination candidate right now, and I need people's support to come on out and vote for me so that I can become the candidate to take on the Liberal MP that has been here for 9 years, making people poor. And that's what we need to do. I want to talk to people. I want to hold every every one of those liberals that we see. I want to hold them accountable for the choices, the decisions that they've made, the policies that they are supporting. And I want the people, when I go door knocking, I want them to hold me accountable too, because that's the only way that we can get faith back into our institution. The political institution itself has been knocked down a peg with the things that are going on. People are worried about corruption, the ethics violations, tarring all politicians with the same brush. And I may not be a politician by normal trade. I'm a teacher. I work with special needs kids. But you know what? Canada needs help. I've spent my life helping people, and that's what I want to do.
Rob Haynes, thank you for joining me today. I'm going to make sure I have all the links in the description so people can go check you out. Thanks again for joining me.
Thank you so much, Glad. It's great seeing you again.